Hello, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to be filming this video because when you're watching this, it is January 1st. It is the start of a new year, 2025. I've fallen in love with New Year's and this renewed sense of opportunity and hope that I feel like the new year brings. And just January 1st feels like a launch board for anything that you want to achieve in the new year. As you can tell from the title of this video, I'm going to be talking about dry January today, which has really become a very popular challenge. And I want to do a little bit of reflecting on some of the reasons I think everyone can benefit from doing dry January, even if you don't plan on, being sober full time. There's so many benefits across your health and your well-being and just your personal growth that you can get from taking a break from alcohol for 30 days. So let's talk about dry January. I also just want to interrupt the video to say thank you to everyone who watched my videos last year. If you are a returning viewer or a subscriber, I really appreciate your support. I really appreciate you being here and watching my content. It really means so much to me. I know people say that, but when I posted my first video reflecting on my 1 year sober, I did not expect to reach so many people who were sort of in a very similar place to me when I was quitting drinking, facing those same struggles, asking those same questions. And the few videos that I've made up until this point have been so well received, and those comments when people share milestones or struggles or their hopes, for sobriety in the comments on my videos, it means so much to me, and I am so moved by people sharing those stories. And really my goal is to create a space where we can have those conversations, which I think are so important to have because we often feel very alone in our struggles with alcohol. If you are struggling or feel like you have a difficult relationship with alcohol, but you are so not alone. And the reality is that most people have very similar issues, which is really something that I want to highlight on my channel and in my content. That being said, for 2025, I'm really setting an ambitious goal to post more regularly to my YouTube channel. So if you are interested in not just sobriety content around like tips and videos that I've put out so far, but also lifestyle videos in the sense that sobriety is, a big part of who I am. But for me, removing alcohol from my life allowed me to start creating a life that I really wanted and really enjoyed living. And that's something I want to share too. Not just, how to get sober and how to stay sober, but what kind of life you can live when you're sober. I think we often think of it as such a loss, right? You're giving something up. It must be difficult. It takes away a certain like social aspect or a luxury out of life. And that couldn't be further from the truth. So I want to share how glamorous and luxurious and fulfilling and magical and sexy a sober life can be. And that's really, my goal for this channel. I also started a Substack for a written newsletter that goes directly to your inbox. If you're not familiar with Substack, you subscribe, you can unsubscribe at any time. I have a free version. I will have paid subscriptions as well with sort of exclusive content for people who want to support me in that way so I can do more of this. But it will be a weekly newsletter around sobriety, life, thoughts, all sorts of little things, just sort of a personal blog to share my thoughts and moments with you. If you are interested in following something like that, I'm going to do a special for dry January and post every single day of January with reflections on sobriety, tips for getting through dry January, and just sort of little snippets here and there that maybe give you some content if you are planning on doing dry January. So I will have that linked in my description box if you did want to subscribe completely for free. Like I said, I'll be having 30 special editions daily hitting your inbox for January, whether or not you are participating in dry January. Maybe that's something that you're interested in if you are sober curious or just want to see what a sober life in your 20s can look like. Anyway, back to dry January video. Okay, so I'll be posting more on like practical tips in my dry January Substack newsletter. If you wanted to subscribe to that, if you are doing dry January and would like sort of input there, that would be a really great place for more of those practical tips. Also check out past videos on my YouTube channel on sobriety tips that I've made, things that have helped me stay sober, things like that could totally be applied to a 1 month break. But the thing that I really want to talk about in today's video is why I think everyone can benefit from doing dry January. Whether you have a problem with alcohol, whether you feel like you want to get sober, whether you are a very happy drinker and have a great relationship with alcohol, I feel like there's only positives that can come out of taking a break for 30 days because I feel like dry January is a really great opportunity to do that informed decision making, right? Taking a break and saying, okay, I've been drinking for 10, 15, 5 years. And I just want to take a moment to reflect on my relationship with alcohol very consciously. I'm not going to drink for 30 days. It's going to be great for my body, whatever, all those health benefits are great. But more so, sort of having that moment to say, okay, I want to see exactly how much of a role alcohol plays in my life. I want to see how I feel when I cut it out. I want to see what my personal relationship is with alcohol. I want to be sort of conscious and mindful of the situations where I drink, the situations where I get really uncomfortable if I can't drink. Because for most people, if you are a regular drinker, you might have been drinking from the time you started regularly up until this point. You might have never taken sort of an extended break. And 30 days is a great opportunity for a very mindful pause. And there's quite a few things that you might learn, which is something that I realized when I started trying to do dry January. I will be sober 3 years in February of 2025, which is totally insane. But before that, I had tried to do dry January at least 2 times, so the 2 years prior. And the first thing that I realized, that I think a lot of people realize when they do dry January, is that it's a lot more difficult than it sounds. But even if it sounds easy to you, and maybe it is, maybe you go months without drinking throughout the year regularly, which is great, you might be surprised what challenges you run into when you try to remove alcohol from your life for 30 days. From my experience, that looked like a few different things. Number one, I didn't realize how habitual drinking was for me. Even something like at the end of the workday, having a beer, I realized as soon as I removed alcohol that when I got home from work and I was like, already prepared my brain, like, oh, it's time for a drink. Having that moment of like, oh wait, I'm not drinking, what do I do instead? Realizing how ingrained alcohol was in my simple routines like that, really was a bit of a shock. And this applies to like hanging out with friends. Whenever I hung out with friends, whether we're having dinner or going out or just hanging out, having a chat, alcohol was involved 99% of the time. We always had a drink. And that was also like a really awkward thing to navigate, right? Because you have to now be social with even people that you know and love and that love you. It can be really difficult when alcohol, a social lubricant, is involved in all of these sort of socializing events, to take a step back and then reassess how you show up in those situations. Another thing that a lot of people notice that I definitely did is that you suddenly have a lot more time, seemingly, when you cut alcohol out of your life. And this is a weird one because obviously you don't have more time, you have the exact same amount of time. But when you're not drinking, obviously you are a lot more present, your brain is a lot clearer, you are just a lot more aware of the time that you have to spend. And this is a great opportunity to look at, okay, what do I do with my free time? For me, a lot of my free time, my weekends revolved around drinking. And when I obviously took booze out of the equation, I was like, okay, what do I do now? What do I do for fun? I have no idea. I went to breweries, I went to wineries, I went to bars with my friends, I hung out with my friends, but we'd always be drinking. Like, when I removed alcohol in my life, I realized I have no hobbies. I don't really know what I enjoy doing. And while I was super uncomfortable in the beginning, it gave me an opportunity to actually create things that I enjoy doing, actually reflecting on, okay, what is fun for me? What are some new things that I want to try? How do I want to spend my free time? That is so valuable at the end of the day, right? Something that I care about very deeply and want to make sure I'm using well. And obviously, I think the end goal for Dry January then is to come out of it with sort of a reset on your relationship with alcohol, really realizing where it was a part of your life, how much of a part of your life you want it to be moving forward, and how you can fill your life with other things that bring you joy that isn't dependent on a substance. The last thing I'll add here too is that Dry January might very well be very uncomfortable for you, and that is okay. We live in a world where we never have to feel uncomfortable. There is no time for boredom, and everything is catered to our distraction. When you really reflect on it then, when is the last time you actually allowed yourself to feel uncomfortable? As a result, when we take away one of these comforts, if you will, in the shape of alcohol, our tolerance for that discomfort is super low, so it feels especially uncomfortable. That the discomfort from removing alcohol out of my life, especially in sort of those challenging situations like social settings or sort of after work time when I usually would be drinking, navigating through that and really learning to sit with the discomfort to get through it as opposed to just having a drink to make it go away was a huge challenge. Now, and I'm not talking about physical dependency on alcohol, that's a whole other ballgame that I really have no authority to speak on, which is why if you have experienced things like sweating, shakes when you don't drink, and you need alcohol to make those go away, I highly recommend speaking to a doctor before you quit drinking or do something like Dry January, because withdrawals from alcohol can be very serious if you do have a physical dependency on alcohol. I'm literally just talking about like the emotional discomfort of like, oh, I usually drink here, and now I don't have it, and I feel really uncomfy, or I feel socially awkward, or like that whole element of it. But once you build up that tolerance for that emotional discomfort, you'll realize that you have that available in other parts of your life. And then that is such an important skill for so many other areas in your life where you might have goals. Things like eating more healthy, right? Having that discipline to say no to yourself, to be uncomfortable when you really are craving a sweet or something like that. Exercising more, improving your fitness, right? That is uncomfortable. Literally being able to push yourself to do things that are hard, having that discipline to say, okay, I'm going to the gym even if I don't feel like it. These are all things that you strengthen when you learn to have that self-control, and taking a break from alcohol for 30 days and really committing to it when it's uncomfortable, when it's hard, allows you to set yourself up for the rest of the year where you can say, hey, I can do things that make me uncomfortable. I can do things that are hard. If they are in my best interest, and that's something that you can apply to so many more areas of your life. The point being that doing a challenge that makes you uncomfortable is a good thing because that allows you to grow, and it gives you insight when, dry January is over on how you want to proceed. Maybe you'll notice that alcohol plays a much bigger role in your life than you want it to moving forward, and that's something that you can be more mindful about. Maybe you'll notice that your relationships improve. Maybe you'll notice that you feel better. Maybe you'll notice that you feel better. Literally just waking up without a hangover is such a win, especially on New Year's Day. Starting my year feeling refreshed, feeling hot, really can't beat that. So that's 1 month without hangovers, which is a win in my books. Okay, I think that's it for me, but I appreciate you being here if you did make it this far. Like I said, my Substack is open, and there will be a daily newsletter for Dry January that goes directly to your inbox, really short reads, sort of sobriety tips, yes, but also just other reflections and snippets. So definitely not limited to the sober curious audience. Anyway, I'm super excited for 2025. I'm really excited to be spending more time dedicated to this channel and to my newsletter. I really hope that you follow along if you do enjoy my content. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss another video from me, and leave a comment down below if you have any questions about sobriety, or if you have topics that you think I should cover in the new year. I'd really appreciate that input. I will see you in my next video. Happy New Year. I hope you had fantastic holidays. Let's make 2025 all about creating lives for ourselves that we love living, filled with things that we love doing, with people that care about us and that we care about. Maybe I'll do some more ASMR this year too.